Hey guys, another great edition of Quarantine with Coaches. Today we got a real special guest. This occurred to me that in the month of doing this video series, I've yet to feature a high school coach. And so I've been brainstorming to maybe find the best guest possible. And I think today I did it. In his 15 years as head coach at Rochester, he has a record of 157 wins to 32 losses. He's won 8 of the last 10 state championships in Illinois, including this past season. His numerous Coaching of the Year honors. He's Illinois College Football Hall of Famer and the head coach at Rochester High School. Coach Derek Leonard, how you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope that introduction, was sufficient. I wanted to make sure we knew what we were dealing with today.
That was too much. Yeah, the Illinois College thing, that was the best part right there.
Hey, you've been at Rochester the last 15 years, but I know you did a little coaching before that. Maybe some people don't know about. So could you just talk a little bit about your journey in coaching prior to that?
Yeah. I went to Illinois College, and right out of college, I got lucky, and I was at a football clinic with Dad. Whoever doesn't know me, my father's a head football coach here in Illinois, Springfield, Illinois. At Sacred Heart Griffin. And so we went to a football clinic. I think it was my spring at the IC, and I got lucky enough to meet Brian Hassett, one of my good friends to this day. And he had a job opening, PE for what I was looking for, and assistant football coach at Prairie Central High School up by Bloomington. And got lucky, got that first interview and got it. And I was there for 2 years. And then got the Rochester job. Rochester and Prairie Central were in the same conference at the time. And so really that's what, those 2 years were really, I got this job, honestly, let's be honest, probably because of my last name and who my father was. And Rochester's right next to Springfield. So that was probably most of it. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all who you know and getting lucky sometimes. I got married that summer, and so, God bless me just to put me in the right spot at Rochester right then. I'm at 24, and so been there ever since. And I feel like I've been an assistant coach forever, though. I've told people I got to watch the best do it, and that's my dad. And, I think I was ready for it, and I was ahead of my time because of that, just because I would hang around him all the time, and I played for him. So I just think, and really my Illinois College experience too, playing for Coach Jim Good, those guys really prepared me to be ready for that. And I probably wasn't ready, but I thought I was, and they did a good job. So.
Yeah, well, it's worked out well since then, right? Whether you're ready or not, right? You just mentioned your dad, I think a lot of people watching this will probably know him, but if they don't, all-time winningest head coach in the state of Illinois, at a powerhouse that is really actually like right down the road from you, right?
Yeah.
How did that relationship sort of impact you, not only to become a coach, but now make you sort of the coach you are?
Yeah, no, it is everything. I'll be honest. I tell people, and I just don't say that because he's my father. I say that because, man, I learned from the best, and I a lot of people say it about their parents, but man, my dad was, I got a daily, like I told you, I got a daily view of how you were supposed to coach and lead people. And I think the coaching profession is getting much better but my dad was so far ahead on, I believe, how you treat people, how you, this 3D coaching stuff now and all. Man, I'm telling you, he loved other people like he wanted to be loved. And he did that on the football field. He loved those kids like he loved me. Now he loved me more, but he treated them like he treated me. And I got disciplined like they got, you know what I mean? I knew where my father stood. I knew everything, but I also know how great of a coach he was. And he was really ahead of his time offensively, obviously. He was doing the run gun stuff. I think around when Urban Meyer was at Bowling Green and all those, when it was really developing, I was kind of there with him. And I'm lucky God put me at that time where I got to see a lot of that stuff at its origin and where it started. And so all those things put together, like I said, I learned from the best. And I loved my life. And I knew if I couldn't play professional, whether football or basketball, I wanted to coach. And I was never one of those kids. I wanted to be a fireman, policeman. I knew I was going to be a football coach. And that's what I wanted to do. And I think I enjoyed my life so much as a kid and what I saw, and I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to be a part of that. And I want my kids to have that same experience. Because you don't make much money, as we all know. You're not in for the money. My dad still lives in the same house that I lived in when I was 3, and it's not a very big house. So I knew going into it, that's how much I enjoyed my life, though, is that even regardless of pay, it's what I wanted to do.
Hey, Rochester is, I think, an enrollment around 800, 900 kids, maybe a little less than that. It's not this booming metropolis. No disrespect, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not a Chicago, private school, right? But here you are, 8 state championships in 10 years. How have you got this thing rolling in the right direction? But maybe more importantly, how have you been able to sustain this success with being a small school and maybe have a little less resources than some of these other schools?
Yeah, that's a good question. And people ask me that a lot. And the more the more I get asked and the more I've thought about it, there really is no there's a bunch of explanations. There's a lot of things have to go right, and you have to be at a good place to do what we've done. And because I've been in the game long enough, there's some great coaches who never win any, and they're great coaches, probably better than me, probably, so winning doesn't always equate, hey, how good you are or things. I've had some great players, obviously, and you look down the line of kids for a school our size. We've had some great athletes. My coaching staff has stayed together for the most part. I would say, I've probably had 5 guys since day one, and I've probably had 90% from even 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And so that's huge, and that's coaching, right? I mean, the more people that stay and the more continuity, the more kids, and we just have great kids, great families. It's a great place to raise your kids. But my kids are, they're disciplined, and they, most of them have 2 parents in the house, and they're, and that's the thing. I just heard, I forget, Tom Osborne talking. There's a lot of places, man, that people don't have that fatherly figure or man figure in their life. And you know what? I got a lot of that here. And the kids are just good kids, and we just, I think we're consistent. We do what we do. We stand for something. I think on the football field, but also as people. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is the consistency we've had, whether coaching, whether it's family, whether it's kids, whether it's our offense, whether it's our defense, you know what I mean? There's been some consistency over time with so many people now, especially because it's high school football. We don't make a lot of money. So people, the assistants are in and out, the head coaches are in and out. They're always looking for a better job. And so you just don't see this a lot in a lot of places. And this is home for me. So I really don't care to go anywhere else unless it was a big college. I don't see me going to any other high school other than this.
You sort of touched on this a second ago and talking about the discipline of your players. One of the things I've tried to do with this project is sort of, I guess, look for secrets, if you will, about cultivating leadership. And I would imagine that cultivating leadership right now during this time is difficult for everybody, but probably a little bit more difficult for you as a high school head coach. How are you going about cultivating leadership during this time?
Yeah, you know what? It is tough during this time. I don't know if there's a great answer for that. I think I'm probably learning like everybody else, and because my thing with leadership is this, and I know I'm speaking to coaches here. The best people I learned from, because everyone has these coaching philosophies and they have all these, the 4 season, all this stuff. The best people I've ever learned from are the people that walk their walk and talk, walk their talk. The people that are, our leadership philosophy and my coaching philosophy is love others as you want to be loved. And it's as simple as that. And I'm going to love my coaches that way. I'm going to love my players that way. I'm going to love my family that way. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. But I think if just like my father did for me, just some of the best coaches that I had in my life, they displayed that every day. And that doesn't mean they weren't disciplined, right? That sometimes love is being very disciplined. But I knew the people in my life that were great coaches cared for me. And so I think our leadership has carried because of that. Because you know, we've all had coaches that talk the other way and they say, oh, well, you know, you got to love each other, and then they go out and, man, they don't care for the worst player on the team. They love the best player on the team. You got to love all your players no matter what. Sometimes you got to love the worst guy the best. And you know, I think that's a thing in leadership in today that gets carried away. But the thing I've learned over time is the best people in my life, and the best, and not always coaches, but leaders, man, truly love each other and put the team first. But I have to live my life that way if everybody else underneath me is going to be like that. And that is, like I said, I'm not perfect. And I definitely let those kids know I'm not perfect, and my coaches, but I try to be the best I can be. That's true leadership, servant leadership to me. And that's what I think in the long run, sustain any success, you better be that. Otherwise, hey, you're going to have good runs of bad teams, good teams. Eventually the kids are going to know you're a phony. And eventually, man, you know what I mean? That run runs its end, and people see through you. And there's some of that too. And so I guess that's the best question, is sometimes them seeing me and in general, but man, it's hard right now because man, like we're talking on this thing, that there's no true interaction sometimes with, you know, sometimes you need that person right there. And so I'm just hoping this gets over fast.
I think we all are. Hey, before I let you go, we do a little rapid fire question.
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Book that has had the biggest impact on you?
The Bible.
There we go.
Yeah.
What's been your go-to quarantine meal?
Oh boy, what hasn't been? Good question. You know what? We've had my wife makes a good breakfast casserole that we've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner a few times. So that's good.
What show have you been binging?
Oh man, I don't watch many shows. You know what I've been binging, unfortunately, is TVG, the horse racing. I've been on the horses probably too much. So that's the only thing to gamble on. So you know, I had to admit I like the horses, and TVG's been a savior. So I like Blacklist too. If I was going to pick a show, that would be my show. So
there we go. I'm throwing this one in because I meant to tell you this, but I see you obviously around clinics. Every time I see you at clinics, you got a bevy of coaches around you talking to you. What is, or maybe who is, the biggest name that's ever reached out to you and said, hey, can you tell me how you do this? Have you ever been shocked at these guys that just track you down? Obviously, you had great success, but.
You know what I do? It's fun. And you know what? Those are the people I like the most because, you know what? Because I'm not shy. I'll go ask people, hey, if I think someone's doing something, and that's what my dad taught me, you know, and I know this is rapid fire, but man, you got to learn from other people. I've stolen and taken so much from so many people that that's why I hope I try to present myself. And I'm glad you said that, because I try to be presentable. I hope people can come up to me and talk, because I'm not going to charge people, and I'm not going to do that. I want to learn what people taught me. And you know what? I have had some coaches that some big names that we talk football, from Todd Monken to Sean Watson to, you know, and usually it's me more asking them questions for sure, but you get some questions asked too. So
yeah, I just know I've seen some big name coaches around you at these clinics. Yeah. So, hey, finally, you know, I got to ask, because we share this in common, but what's your best memory as an Illinois College Blue Boy?
Man, probably the St. Norbert game. It's still I'll never forget that the rest of my life. I think it was our last home game, and just something I'll never probably, I mean, it's top 3 or 4, and I've won, you know, I've played in a lot of good games, and I've coached in a lot of good games. That's still probably one of the top of my list of experiences in my life. And you know what? We were 6-14, but it meant as much then and was as big then as any state championship or anything, because of state championships. You know what? They're great, but in the end, man, in the long run, it's not really what means the most. And I had some great friendship and some great people. You know, you went to IC. It's a place where people, it's amazing how many of those guys became football coaches, like yourself, and how many people have come from IC. I mean, it's a crazy number when you really look at it. But it's just people who love football and loved the experience. And it was just one of those games you just never forget.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I mean, I got to ask, what were your stats in that game?
Man,
I heard they were bananas. You came about 3 years before me, so yeah. I know they were bananas. But What?
I don't know what they were, but I know the gift to me was because they knew I love God. I was probably the biggest pain as a player too, because I thought I knew everything. But Coach Rowland was walking down the stairs and he said, "You know what? And he didn't think we were going to win. I didn't think we were going to win either, probably. But he says, "I'm going to let you call this game yourself." So man, I perked up and I got happy, and I could tell you we threw it a lot that game, and I don't know what the final stats were, but we threw it a lot. Went fast, no huddle. That's kind of where I started the fast, no huddle was from that game.
There you go.
Man, he said, you get to call it yourself. And I'm thinking, all right, let's go. And
So,
I thought that was the best chance to try to beat him at that time, especially 18 years ago. I mean, no one was doing that stuff. And that's where I thought, man, this thing can work a little bit. And so, yeah, it was
TR really was the guy that gave you your first coaching job.
TR was the first one, yes. I should give Coach Rowland a lot of credit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Coach, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on Quarantine with Coaches.
No problem, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for having me.